It's time for Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group with financial advisors Kevin Korhorn, Mike Bernard, and Josh Gregory.
Welcome to another episode of Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group, where every week, even this one, we're helping you take your next wise step in your financial life. My name is Mike Bernard. I am one of the certified financial planners on the show. I'm also your host. Thank you for being with us. With me in the KFG studios, certified financial planners Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory.
Do you have a vision for what your retirement will look like?
Florida.
Lots
of Disney movies.
Okay, so if you have that vision...
6 Saturdays and a Sunday.
That sounds good, too. Do you know how to turn that vision into a reality? What steps do you need to take? That sort of thing. We're helping you in both the why and the how of retirement planning on today's episode.
All right. Talking about retirement usually gets those creative juices flowing. If you have questions, how can I get that? How can I achieve that? Reach out to us. You can find us online, wisemoneyradio.com. You can call or text us, 574-222-2000. That's 574-222-2000. And social media, you can reach out to us or stay connected to the show that way. YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, at Wise Money Radio. So when it comes to retirement, I think we'd all want to have the confidence and clarity that we're on track to achieve what we want, the lifestyle of which we're accustomed, with little risk of running out of money. That would be the ideal. It's a great feeling. Josh, Kevin, and I have all had the great privilege of helping many clients realize that. It takes a lot of great planning, but before you can even start with the nerdy stuff that you guys know I love, you need to have a vision, a compelling vision for what am I even sacrificing for in the first place. And then you've got to have a great plan, a great planning strategy to back that up. So let's start by figuring out how to come up with that vision. Where does it come from? Why is that even needed? Let's talk about retirement vision.
Well, you just asked the question, well, why is it needed? And I'm reminded of the old saying, if you shoot at nothing, you'll hit it every time, right? So how do you even begin to plan if you don't have a target in mind, right?
I don't know why, but I thought of some of the hunting stories that you've told me.
Well,
would I hear that?
I'm shooting at something. Oh. I hit it nothing every time. That's different.
That is a little bit different.
That's right. But, I think this is important because too many folks, when they think about retirement, it's really just, when's the day coming that I don't have to work anymore? Mm-hmm. And that sounds to me a lot like I'm retiring away from something, as opposed to defining and kind of clarifying, envisioning what you're retiring into. And we've just observed over the years that those who have a clear vision for what they want their retirement years to look like, what kind of activities they're going to be involved in, what's their purpose in life, how are they going to fulfill that in that later chapter of their life, they just have greater motivation, greater just energy in preparing for that goal. You're much more willing to make a sacrifice to prepare for that when you know what you're preparing for.
Yeah, and the research backs that up. One of the things that we like to study is what is it that motivates people and what is it that causes people to take action? Why would people be willing to sacrifice something today and forego something today for something in the future? And it seems like there's two camps of people. The people that were born savers. So you didn't have to tell them when they started their job that they needed to start saving money. It's the first thing they wanted to do. And there are other folks that are kind of born spenders, and the first thing that they wanted to do was go spend everything they made and then borrow some money from their buddy that they could pay him back next Tuesday. And so you think about that and you think, well, this is interesting. So what is it that can this be changed or modified in any way? And what we've found, and again, the research backs this up, is that when people have a vision for what their retirement will look like. And when I say retirement, I personally take that word and throw it out the window. And I think along the lines of financial independence. So when I get up in the morning, I'm doing what I want to do because it's what I want to do, not because it's what I have to do. So what is the vision of financial independence, and what are you working toward? And there are a couple of ways to do it. One way is to make a ton of money so that you can have some money when you retire and you can live large in retirement. Another way to do it is make decent money, but say, hey, I'm going to have a very modest lifestyle in retirement because the things that I like to do, long walks on the beach and campfires and things, it sounds a little bit like a single, but the things that I
Quite
like
a
to
romantic
yeah,
there.
well, I can't help myself, but the things that I like to do aren't terribly expensive. So, and I personally, I look at this and I say, well, shotgun shells and night crawlers aren't terribly expensive.
Yep.
So depending on what I want to do, as long as I don't want to go to the fancy quail hunting trip in Georgia, it shouldn't be terribly expensive. The thing that I start to think about, it's always interesting, and this is where an outside party can really help you, is if you say, hey, I live large today, but my plan is when I get to retirement to really skinny that down, and I'm not going to need much money in retirement.
I've never seen it happen.
Yeah.
I've heard it.
Sounds
Lots
like
of
wishful
time.
thinking.
So, speaking of a vision for retirement, have you guys heard of this app called the Aging Booth?
The aging booth. Never heard of it.
Aging Booth. So it's an app that you can put on your phone. It's completely free, where you take a picture of yourself, and it will automatically show you what you'll look like at certain ages out there in the future. Gray hair,
Does the
bald.
app cost money?
It's free.
Free?
Yeah,
You
of
said
course,
that?
of course. Turns out there was a study done, I think about 5 years ago, by some professors. Oh, let me see if I've got the schools here. UCLA and New York University, NYU, where they showed someone's future self, a picture of themselves today and then aged out there in the future. They showed it to a group of people and then didn't show that to another group, and then monitored their retirement saving habits over the next few years. It turns
Interesting.
out the people that were shown a picture of themselves at age 65 saved on average between 6.2 and 6.8% per year. I would argue still might not be enough. By the way,
Those are the people who saw the picture of themselves out there in the future?
Yeah.
They save 6 point.
Kevin's
plus?
doing it right now.
So am I,
Kevin's doing it
actually.
right now.
You've actually
Okay?
completely lost me.
The people who did not take a picture of themselves and have it aged saved around 4%. Isn't that
Really?
interesting?
Wow, 50% or a
Ha-
third less.
Having an actual, somewhat tangible vision, even if it's automated in some way through this app, encouraged people to save on average 2% more. I think that illustrates the point that Kevin was making earlier, back when he was paying attention and not messing around with his phone, about how important it is to have a compelling vision for the future. If you're going to sacrifice for something, a stronger, that looks just, actually, Kevin, that's not aged at all.
Nope, that's what I'm seeing live right now,
That's
actually.
right. That's right.
Holy
But
moly.
that helps you get a vision for what retirement's going to look like, and might compel you to sacrifice a little bit more.
I look like my Aunt Marilyn.
What a great compliment to her.
Wow.
So, the aging
I just
booth.
saw the picture, and it makes me want to go start living large right now because I don't want to get to that point.
No. We're all getting there. I don't know how to tell you. Lori and I used to sit behind these old folks in church that were in their 90s, and they were all kind of shriveled up and hunched over. And I told her, I said, honey, we're gonna be like that. If we live long enough, we're gonna look just like that. And she's like, no. Yeah, no, that's gonna happen.
Hopefully you do. The point here is all retirement requires some sacrifice today. And as Kevin said in his examples, the two kind of on the opposite ends of the spectrum, you make a whole bunch of money. Well, it still will require some sacrifice. It might not feel like much if you're making a whole bunch of money to set some aside and not spend it today, but still it takes sacrifice, some discipline to not spend it today. So why sacrifice? That's what you need to start harnessing. That's what you need to start harnessing. And the right certified financial planner, the right financial coach should be able to help ask you some questions and help you come up with that vision that's worth sacrificing today. Not sacrificing everything. I think financial planners get a bad rap. People hear us and say, I shouldn't spend any money. No, it's about balance, but sacrifice for a greater future. Is vision enough, though? No, it's not. It's no substitute for great planning. We're going to talk to you about our approach and the various factors of retirement. That and more coming up here on Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group. I'm glad I didn't tell you guys about that beforehand. That was cool that you were doing it right there. I think you couldn't do it.
You wanted a monologue for that whole segment, didn't you?
I kind of
We
did.
were completely
Sorry,
distracted.
I think I remember using the app like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. The original study came out about 5 years ago, and yeah. It's crazy how real they make that look. By the way, special content for you on YouTube. I didn't have the guts to do it.
You didn't.
No. I think it'd be.
you
I
don't
think
kidding me.
They make
me
you
out.
turn gray, like your face is
Are
gray,
you
not your
scared
hair.
you'd save even more? Is that
What-
what it is?
What's that?
You're scared you'd save even more.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I already feel like with the kiddos, life's going way too fast, and to look at a picture of myself. Oh, Kevin, so you're gonna do it for me? Is that right?
No, I could actually I could.
When you're 85, you're gonna have a microphone that's
Microphone stuck
attached
to
to your
your
chin.
So afraid of
When you're 85, you'll have an implanted microphone.
Wow.
This is kind of gross. I mean,
Hey,
just
at least you're gonna still have hair. I mean, I was worried about that bald spot in the back there.
Science will solve that problem.
I am assuming, yeah. By the time I'll have plugs.
All right, we good to jump into the 5 factors?
Yeah,
Or is there
I
still
do
more
think,
about the vision? Do we want to go through some of the questions?
I do think one of the things that we want to do. You want to look at me?
No,
Come on, just look at me one time.
I don't want to.
Come on, sweetie.
No. Ignorance is bliss.
So I do think one of the things that we want to make a point about is because we had talked about, well, if you make a bunch of money, but I do think we want to make the point. It really doesn't matter what you're making.
We really need to post these
in
on
the
the
world?
YouTube channel or on Facebook. That is awesome. Josh, you look like a hobbit. You
I do
look
already.
like
You should see me when I'm 85.
Frodo Baggins after they take the ring from him.
Bilbo, come here.
Bilbo. Yeah.
Bilbo.
Precious.
Yeah, my precious.
Yeah.
my precious.
What's that? Gollum? Is that his name?
Yeah.
That's what I look like.
No, you look like Bilbo after they take the ring away because he's got the ring and he's still pretty young, and then they take it away and he just shrivels up like a grape.
Wait, a grape is not shriveled.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry, like
the
a raisin.
Okay.
A raisin. Well, you know what I mean. A grape that turns into.
Just say what you mean then, Mike.
Okay.
It's okay.
So,
All right.
Okay, so I do think though the point is really it. I would.
So we'll pick up.
It's
we'll pick back up
it's
vision.
not how much you make. This is the greatest time in the history of the world to accumulate wealth. It's the most complicated time in the history of the world to accumulate wealth. This is why you need a Sherpa.
Okay. Let's start with that. Is your retirement simply determined, or the security of your retirement simply determined by whether you make a whole bunch of money during your working career? Or is it determined by something else?
Yep.
We are going to be talking about that. This is Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group. My name's Mike Bernard. With me in the KFG studios, Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory. Special thanks to the attorneys at Ledoux, Curran and Keene, as well as First State Bank for sponsoring the content of today's show. If you have any questions, I'll answer one of the questions right now. That app was called Aging Booth. Check it out. We had a little fun during the break, and you can catch that content on the YouTube channel. If you have any questions for us, reach out to us. 574-222-2000. You can call or text us. 574-222-2000. You can watch the shenanigans on breaks on the YouTube channel. You can find us at Wise Money Radio, searching on YouTube. You can subscribe right there and get all the bonus content as well as every episode. And lastly, you can find us online, wisemoneyradio.com. We're talking about how you need a vision in order to achieve your retirement goal. It starts with a vision and then some great planning. We're going to get into the great planning here in just a second, but Kevin, there's a little bit more with vision, right?
Yeah, I think so. And one of the things that we had talked about in the last segment was, well, if you made a lot of money or this or that. And a lot of times people think, well, okay, in order to work with a financial planner, I need to make a lot of money. And that's just not true. Your financial success is not based upon what you make. It's based upon what you do with what you make.
Habits,
Yep.
guidance,
Absolutely. So
choices.
and again, if you're, the the world is ruled by the sin of envy, and so if you are comparing yourself to others, stop. Just stop it right now because you're going to be miserable. But what I would encourage you to do is not say, "Well, I know I make less than this person or more than that." No. What you need to do, what you're going to be graded on, and your quality of life in retirement is going to be based on what you do with your stuff, not what your neighbor does with your neighbor's stuff or anyone else does with their stuff. So if you are, there's never been a better time in the history of the world to accumulate wealth. And I was working with one of the advisors in our office yesterday. We were preparing for some appointments, and we were looking at the results that these clients have gotten in the last year and a half. And it's magic when someone is a financial delegator and they ask for help, and we help them, and we do following guiding principles. We put together a financial plan, and then we let it work. It is magic when you see it working right in front of your very eyes. So this is where I would encourage you. If you do not have a relationship, if I asked you the question, who's your trusted advisor? And you scratched your head and said, I don't really have one. I listen to Dave Ramsey on the radio. Dave is awesome, but he's not your trusted advisor.
That's right. He's not going to be asking you the tough questions that help you build that vision. And, the cool thing about the stories that you're sharing or have in your head, Kevin, about those successful cases is that you're helping them build their version of retirement. It's not yours, and it's not their neighbors. It's not their mom or dad. It's theirs. So the financial planning process and a good coach who has walked this road with other people is that person's gonna ask you questions to help you shape what that vision looks like. I'll throw out a few. What's your picture of what your lifestyle will be like in retirement? Where do you want to be living? Mm-hmm. Who do you want to be doing life with at that time? The best part of every day you're going to spend with somebody. Who will that be? Who do you want in your inner circle? And what new activities do you want to build in? If you suddenly had more time than you do right now, or more money available than what you have right now, what are the things you want more of? What are the new things that you want? You're kind of defining what's a perfect 10. If your retirement is an Olympic event and you're going to be judged by yourself and by your closest friends, did you fulfill your vision of retirement? What does that 10 look like?
Stick the landing. How do you stick the landing?
That's right. You know what? I actually was working with a new client here just in the past week, and I was asking them some of these types of questions about retirement, and they could answer a lot of them. And those types of questions that they could answer were for my benefit. I was learning to understand what their vision was. But there were a few questions that I could ask that they didn't know the answer to because they never thought of them before. They've never let their mind, kind of dream in that way. Those are the questions that were for their benefit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the power of working with a coach or an advisor, someone who can get you to expand your thinking. That's really what financial planning is all about.
And I would not undersell, because a lot of times there's the art and the science part of this. The science is the numbers, and the numbers are the numbers of the numbers. And you build in your assumptions, and you build a plan, and you say, okay, well that's my retirement plan and retirement planning. And it really isn't. It's part of the story. Really, it's a small part of the story. Because I was meeting with some folks yesterday, and they were thinking about retirement, and it's imminent. It's coming. And one of them is really, really, really unhappy at work.
Uh-huh.
And so the question is, could this person go early and not feel guilty? And they couldn't. And it was the most amazing. I felt like I needed to get up and leave the room because they had a conversation that was so deep, and they were discussing, well, you can do this, and the spouse said, I can't do it without guilt. And so the other spouse said, okay, well then have the guilt, and let's work through the guilt. And it was
Wow.
it was amazing to watch this happen, because we think that it's such a simple thing. Just figure out what the numbers are, and whatever the numbers are, that's what we'll do. And there's so much more to it, which is why you want someone walking along the path with you.
Yeah, great story.
So you've got that vision, and you can see it clearly. Maybe you've seen a picture of yourself on your phone out there, aged a couple decades. Then what do you do? What's the process like when you sit down with your comprehensive financial planner? The process that we coach people on is it's not complex. It's very simple, but it's hard to put all these pieces together. There is some difficulty there. And we take people through a process called the 5 retirement factors, where we start getting that vision out of them and get it into some of the numbers to see, all right, can that vision float? Can it work? And then if it doesn't, all right, what adjustments can we make? What trade-offs can we make? So the first factor in retirement is your age. Josh, how would you expand on that?
Well, this is the first place we start, because it's really where most people start defining their retirement anyway.
Yeah.
When do I want to be done working? When do I want to walk away from a paycheck? That sort of thing. It just takes a lot more money if you're going to retire at 62 compared to 67,
Yeah.
right? You're expanding retirement by retiring 5 years earlier. Your retirement phase will be longer, which means your build-up or your preparation stage is shorter.
But it needs to be a higher number.
That's right. You need more money, but have less time to get there.
Yeah.
So the age is such an important factor. It's one of the choices, one of the decisions that you get to make when you're building your retirement vision. It's one of the elements that we stress test when we're building a retirement plan. This is part of that science side that Kevin was talking about. If the numbers don't work at 62, are you willing to go till 64?
That's an important question, because usually that is where people start, is the age. But then you've got to see, okay, well, what if that age doesn't work? What if we test it and it doesn't work? What are you willing? What's the latest you're willing to work? And then hopefully finding someplace in the middle there. The other component of this first factor of age is life expectancy. This is where that very, very important variable comes into play. And this also can be a big eye-opener for folks, is to realize how long retirement will last. I had a conversation earlier this week with someone who originally said, everyone in my family is dead by 75, and I'm working till 70. And through some talking, we decided to base the plan on him living until age 90. Yep. You will likely live longer than you think, and you need to plan for that. What about the other 4 factors and putting it all together? That and more coming up here on Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group.
So we heard a notification, and I would assume it was one of your guys's.
It sounded like it was coming from over there.
coming
It
from
sounded
over
like it came over there, because these are muted and also connected to a Bluetooth speaker in my office. So there's
Okay.
Mine's mute.
Mine's not even in here.
The only thing I have open is Adobe and Box. There's nothing else.
Okay, so it's coming. I'm hearing it from over there.
and I'm hearing it from over there
Yeah.
because it's real quiet.
It's not quiet in the mic. I've got these on, and it's not quiet.
I wonder if
It's happened a couple of times, so.
and so I wonder if it's in the audio, if they're hearing in their headsets.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. My computer's not in here. So. All
I
right.
thought we were going to introduce the 5 factors and then flow into them.
Oh, really?
So when you said do age, I was, okay.
Oh, dude, we were. My bad.
That's right.
Whoever built this outline. Crazy. My bad. I
Well-
wasn't even looking.
That's okay. I'm a kind of a stickler for staying on the outline. But if you guys can tighten it up a little bit.
All
Okay,
right.
there.
let's go.
Third segment.
Yep, we're gonna get this
And-
thing.
We're We're starting with second factor.
And am I going to do that one?
It doesn't matter.
So you can throw it out there, and then let's have the most qualified guys share.
Do you want to go get coffee or something then?
Now that you mention it,
Did you get into
I do. All right, let's go.
Welcome to Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group. My name is Mike, joined by Josh and Kevin here in the KFG studios. Thank you to Bethel College Adult and Graduate Studies, as well as Diane Bennett with RE/MAX 100 for partnering with us on the Wise Money Show. We're talking about retirement, starting with a vision, and then building on that, the 5 factors that help you figure out in litmus test, can that vision actually work and what trade-offs do you need to make? We've covered the first one. We've got the rest of those to come. If you have any questions, reach out to us, call or text 574-222-2000, 574-222-2000, and online, wisemoneyradio.com. First factor, after having that compelling vision that draws you in, that compels you to sacrifice and compels you to make some adjustments today to reach that vision, you then need to start defining that in some sciencey type technical terms. All right, what age is that? The second factor is spending, lifestyle, how much you plan on spending in retirement.
Yeah, this is usually where you start quantifying that compelling vision you were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have a vision for what you want your lifestyle to be. Are you going to spend time up north and down south throughout the year? You going to be a snowbird? You're going to do a lot of traveling. Are there new hobbies that you want to begin? All of those things cost money at some level. Mm-hmm. And if it costs only a little bit of money, then great. That means your lifestyle number is smaller, and maybe the resources that you need to build for retirement don't need to be quite as large. But if you start quantifying all the stuff that you really want to have built into your retirement, and you put a price tag on it each year, I need X amount of dollars to just live and to do what I've been envisioning. Sometimes we break it down into a monthly number because that's how most people are used to managing their finances. But when you figure out, based on maybe how you're living today, a forecast of how you hope to live in retirement, then you also have to ask the question, how will it change over time?
Mm-hmm.
You know, life is naturally going to get more expensive. If you keep spending money on the same stuff over the years, those things get more costly. It's inflation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So will your spending power be able to keep up with that because you have a game plan to spend a little bit more as time goes on the same lifestyle, that same compelling vision you were talking about?
One way to manage inflation is with substitution. So our own wonderful producer, Casey Hendrickson, shared with us in confidence, but I'm going to tell you, he doesn't like steaks anymore. And so, thankfully, that's a substitute you could make in retirement. If you're looking at the cost of beef and it's going up, you can say, nope, I'm sticking with the salad tonight. But you have some influence over your inflation, but that's a big one. Sorry for outing you there, Casey. That's a big one in retirement.
I would never choose salad, he says.
That's a big one in retirement that inflation could creep up on. The other big one, the other big factor or component of this second factor spending is healthcare. And that's one that has a lot of people very concerned and very confused. Your retirement plan and testing whether it can work needs to include, what do we expect for healthcare? And you're likely should be inflating that at a higher number. This is one of the main reasons I strongly hate, very strong, retirement.
Hate is a strong word anyway.
Yeah,
Right?
Online retirement calculators, because they just do a very, very poor job of analyzing healthcare and retirement and building that in.
Yeah, as the saying goes, figures lie and liars figure, and online calculators fall right into that category.
So big lump sum expenses like new cars, big trips, the family trip. There again, think about the vision. Do you want to take the whole family to Hawaii? My favorite vacation ever was a big group of us went to Jamaica. Do you want to take the whole family to Jamaica? All inclusive, that sort of stuff. And you got to build those big ticket things in. I had a client come in recently who has lived very, very modestly, has actually sacrificed a lot. And the great news is he's ready. He is ready. He came in and it was I'm coming in March and I'm planning on retirement in June. Can this work? And normally it doesn't. It worked. We asked what his dreams, what his goals are. The very first one, around the world cruise. And it was a high dollar amount and it works. We built it into the plan, significant sum of money, and it can work. So that's what we want. That's what we want for you. So, but you've got to build that in as the second factor.
Don't you just get excited about those types of stories?
I do.
That's
I
what
love
gets
it.
us vested in our clients' plans and everything. It gets us in their corner when they've got a clear picture of something they want to do. Let's make it happen.
I want to live vicariously through you. I want to see the pictures. I want to hear the stories. I want to hear and share in those memories that you're making. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I want you to make as many as possible.
The only thing I would say is, if you're on the plane and you left Washington, D.C., headed for Seattle, and about a half hour before you landed, you were real close to Los Angeles, it's hard to make a small correction and get there. So, Mike talks about the guy that walks in and says, "Hey, I'm retiring in 3 months. This is your chance to become a hero."
Right.
That we do not become heroes or villains at that point in time. We just hold up the mirror, and so there isn't a ton of things that you can do at that point. Now that you should still be working with a financial advisor, but certainly do it. Today, 10,000 baby boomers are going to turn 65. And that's going to happen every day for the next 7 or 8 years. So if you have not met with a financial advisor and you're coming close, beat a path to their door. Make sure they're a certified financial planner. Make sure they can talk to you about the 6 areas of financial planning. But make sure you're working with someone on this.
An interesting question. That client who showed up and wants to retire 3 months from now, if the numbers didn't work, it'd be interesting to know, well, what would they do differently so that the numbers do work, so they go into retirement confidently?
That's my role.
That's right.
That's the certified financial planner's role. We're going through the 5 factors, and I'll just tell you, we were only through 2 of them. But if the plan doesn't work, you manage the trade-offs. What are the trade-offs? Okay, you said you wanted to be done at this time. Are you willing to work longer? If the case was, nope, I'm not. All right, are you willing to spend less? Instead of the around-the-world cruise, are you willing to do the around-the-Caribbean cruise sort of thing? Or
Down the St. Joe cruise.
I wanted to draw Social Security at this point, or wanted to take my pension this way. Are you willing to adjust that? So it's looking at what toggles what levers can I pull to change the story, which leads us to the third factor, and that is your income. Your income is your retirement, is your vision of retirement that, hey, I don't let the door hit me on the way out, but I'm never working again, or is it part-time income?
Yeah, when I started in the biz 24 years ago, the idea was there's this 3-legged stool. Everyone had Social Security, everyone had a pension, and then there was a little bit of savings on the side. And now, for the most part, you have Social Security, and then you've got most folks anymore don't have a pension.
Right.
The folks that did have a pension, either their pension got bought out, and so they received a lump sum, or something has changed where when they started at the employer used to offer a pension, they didn't offer it to them. So now, for the most part, most of the risk is on the person who's retiring. And so when you look at that, you say, okay, well, and I've had clients say, hey, what's the foolproof retirement plan? And that's an easy one. The foolproof retirement plan is never stop working, right? You retire and you don't work at the job that you've worked at for maybe the last 40 years, but you do something with some of the skills. I have I think of him as a good friend, but he's also a client who retired from Honeywell and has been a consultant for basically since he left. And he's a consultant because he was good at what he did and he liked doing it. He didn't like it in the format in which he was doing it at Honeywell. So now he can do it from his home office and do it just the way he likes it. And he has great enjoyment. That's one of the things he wanted to do in retirement.
One of the other big components of this third factor of income is how do you draw Social Security? That's one of the biggest retirement decisions you'll make. And then the last thing that I would tuck in here, we might expand on it more in just a minute. I love what role tax planning plays in this third factor. It can make all the difference in the world. If over your lifetime you have 100,000 fewer dollars, 100,000 fewer dollars going to Uncle Sam, more of that money staying in your pocket, that can make a huge difference on your retirement plan. The other two factors and more coming up here on Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group. I started thinking, yep, I'll tuck that in because this is the fourth segment. We got to go. And I'm like, no, that's so good.
Is it really the fourth segment?
We're getting ready to come into the fourth segment.
Holy moly.
Holy moly.
36 minutes.
10:30. So we've got to get to those last two segments and then wrap it all, or the last two factors and wrap it all together. But I think
Are
it'd
we
be.
going to get to questions?
There's no
You
way.
don't think we can get a question? I haven't even looked at the questions, so.
As always, it'd be nice due to variety and all of that. Getting through these two factors and then tying it all together, I think will take all of 10 minutes. But we'll see. Of course, we'll keep going. If we're at 8 minutes and it looks like we can wrap it up, I'll head into Chuck's question.
Okay, wait, I want to look at Chuck's question.
Quickly selling my house because my neighbor sold his for more than we thought it was worth. It's not really a question, it's just kind of a scenario. I'm doing this.
I think the last two factors are gonna.
Yeah.
Do you want to do anything with the rest of the?
I think it'd be good to pick up the tax planning component of income. Personally,
Yeah.
Roth conversions, talking about a couple of those things might be good.
Roth recharacterizations.
Alrighty.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, I need to cool my ears off. Sheesh.
I feel like I need one of those tissues for my ears.
You got some cool ears, Josh. Okay,
All right.
let's do it.
Thank you so much for being with us today. This is Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group, coming to you from the world headquarters of Korhorn Financial Group. This is Wise Money, and my name is Mike Bernard, your host, along with certified financial planners Kevin Korhorn and Josh Gregory. If you've missed anything, I would point you to a couple different places. You can catch up on this episode, what you missed, and every other episode. First, the YouTube channel. Find us Wise Money Radio, and you can subscribe to it, get notified every Saturday when it comes out. Also, the podcast is on iTunes and Google Play. You will have to search for Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group, Korhorn. You can subscribe to that as well. You can find us online, wisemoneyradio.com. Submit questions that way. And lastly, you can submit a question by calling or texting 574-222-2000. That's 574-222-2000. Most of the show today, we've been talking about how in the world do you accomplish this big financial goal of retirement. And the first is you have to have a great, compelling vision. What is that goal? So many of you likely are just wanting to stop working, stop having the stress. Well, that alone might not be enough of a compelling picture to draw you in before the planning process. And so what are you retiring to? What do you want that stage of your life to look like? And then building out the plan, starting with these 5 factors. The third one was income. We were just touching on that, but I would just want to point out again how important tax planning is as part of this component, this factor in your retirement plan.
Yeah, and tax planning becomes much easier if you've run the miles in advance of getting to retirement. Because if you are paying attention to this, you can take advantage of all different types of tax strategies to build different pools and reservoirs of money so that the character of the income that you receive in retirement will be treated differently, and you've got choices on how to mix the cocktail of retirement income to absolutely maximize your tax scenario.
So I had a scenario recently where an individual was just about to retire, and this is one of the reasons why I think he needed a financial advisor. He transitioned a certain amount of money, I think about $50,000, from an IRA into a Roth about a decade ago. And so he showed up, and it was a much higher amount. I think it was over $100,000 now. That's in the Roth. And as we started to plan off of that, he shared, unfortunately, that didn't happen the way it was supposed to. And it didn't get moved into a Roth. It just got moved into a taxable account.
Oh.
So that is going to mean when he starts selling those investments in there to start living off some of the money, he will have to pay tax on that. Versus if it was in the Roth, he'd be avoiding tax. And that's that was an unfortunate realization for him, unfortunate thing for us. Now we can plan through that, so it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, that can still be salvaged.
But the point is, if you've got this perspective over your lifetime of preparing for retirement, then you truly can save thousands upon thousands of dollars and keep it in your pocket instead of giving it to Uncle Sam. That's a very important part of this factor of retirement.
Yeah, my mind goes immediately when you think about that. So there's capital appreciation. When it's sold, it's capital gains. There's a way to pay 0% on your capital gains if you're doing planning correctly.
Yeah, that's what we're going to be able to do for him. So one question is, well, wait a second. You've talked about the factor of age. You've talked about spending. You've talked about income. What role do my investments play in all of this thing? Well, that's the fourth factor, and that is what you have saved up and what you're contributing to retirement.
Well, that's right. It's the savings habit that we're talking about here. And this one's especially important for younger folks that are maybe retirement's way out there. You maybe can't even define the age yet. You don't even know what you'll be spending in retirement just yet or what your income sources are. And yet you still need to use the power of time to your advantage by getting into the habit of saving regularly now.
Yep.
Right? And that's hard. You know, when you're 35 years old and you have all kinds of other needs pulling at your paycheck, right? You need grocery money. You want to take some vacations. You've got Little League fees. There's just a lot of demands on your cash right now. And that's one of the reasons why we believe that getting your savings handled off the top is the more powerful way to go. Get used to living on what's left after you've already started setting aside money for those long-term goals like retirement. And you get started with that day one of your working career and you never miss those dollars. And as you're gaining that retirement vision we've been talking about in this show, having more clarity on what your options are going to be, you've already started building the engine that's going to make it a reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that is crucially important to the idea that I'm going to save what I need to save and live on what's left, because most people live on what they need to live on and then try to figure out a way to save the difference. And so if you're listening right now and you're currently saving, my question to you is, what amount are you saving and why? And a lot of times, if folks will come in and we'll talk about, well, what are you saving and why? Sometimes there's not a great reason. We just had one of our advisors working with some clients, and we were doing some casework together. And the amount this person was saving was based on the understanding that the 401k was not a safe harbor plan, and so they couldn't max it out.
Yep.
And Amy Masters, one of our CFPs, did a great job of finding, no, this is a safe harbor plan. You can max this all the way out. So this money that you've been paying taxes on and saving in an after-tax account, you can actually put it in the 401k and get tax relief today. So I would think about what amount am I saving and what is it based on? Hopefully it's based on a great plan.
Well, I would discourage you from having it based on this. Well, I'm maximizing as much as I can put in to get the match. the match is a gift, and you certainly need to be aware of that. Get as much match as possible. But I think there are a whole bunch of retirement plans that have fallen short because people, well, I'm just going to save as much as I need to in order to get the match, but it's not the right amount. It's not the right amount for you. Your comprehensive financial plan will help you determine that. This is closely tied to the last factor, and that is the amount of risk you're willing to take on your investments in retirement. Connect these two dots for us, Josh.
Well, financial advisors are often trying to measure someone's risk tolerance. How much are you willing to stomach of the ups and downs of your investment portfolio over time? And it's difficult because during times like this where the stock market has been climbing for years, a lot of folks have a very high pain tolerance because we haven't had any pain in so long. And yet, when you get closer to retirement, a lot of times your tolerance for any kind of fluctuations, it goes down because retirement starts feeling more real for you. This is one of the reasons why early on in your working career, as you're accumulating dollars for the future, it's important to allow your investments to be more growth-oriented during those early years because you have so much time to bounce back from the inevitable roller coaster ride.
Even if it's scary, even if it doesn't feel like a very fun time to be an investor. If you're younger, you should have a bias towards taking a little more risk.
That's right. I always say that we have an amount of risk that we are comfortable with emotionally, and then there's an amount of risk that you just need to be taking for the plan to work.
Yeah.
Right?
And then oftentimes, one of the reasons why this variable is so crucial in retirement is a lot of people, they get up to the retirement decision, they say, I don't want to be on that roller coaster anymore. I'm done. I'm done with that roller coaster. And no, I don't want to go to a smaller one. I want to go to the lazy river. And if you do that, does that mean your retirement plan will work or not? And for a lot of people, you need to stay investing. And so the right financial planner can help you through that process. So the point is here, how do you tie this all together? Those 5 factors, they're all interrelated. They're all connected. So making a decision in one will drive your options in another. And if you sit down and build that plan to reach that vision and it doesn't work, just toggle those variables back and forth to come up with the plan that will. Some of it will require some sacrifice, but that awareness, that clarity will help you get there. That is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for being with us. On behalf of Josh Gregory, Kevin Korhorn, and the rest of us at KFG, have a great weekend. We'll see you next Saturday for Wise Money with Korhorn Financial Group.
Securities offered through Silver Oak Securities, member FINRA/SIPC. Advisory services offered through KFG Wealth Management, LLC. Doing business as Korhorn Financial Group. KFG Wealth Management, LLC and Silver Oak Securities Incorporated companies are unaffiliated.